Have you ever wondered if someone who walked away from your life secretly regrets that decision every single day? What if the silence you've been experiencing isn't because they forgot about you, but because they cannot face the truth of what they lost? The energy around today's message is incredibly intense, and it speaks about a heart that is carrying something heavy. Someone connected to you thought they could move on easily. They believed letting you go would close the chapter and allow them to continue their life without looking back. But what they did not expect was the quiet echo of your presence still following them. Because sometimes a person only understands the depth of a connection after it is gone. There is someone in your energy who keeps replaying the past in their mind. They may not say it out loud. They may not admit it to anyone around them. On the outside, they might look like everything is normal, like they moved forward and left the past behind. But inside, there is a different story unfolding. Inside their heart, something keeps reminding them of you. Small memories appear in unexpected moments. A song, a place, a certain feeling in the air suddenly brings your energy back into their thoughts. And every time it happens, they feel that quiet realization again. The realization that letting you go may have been one of the biggest mistakes they ever made. This reading carries the energy of silent regret, not the loud kind where someone openly apologizes or chases after what they lost, but the quiet kind that lives inside a person's thoughts. The type of regret that visits someone late at night when everything around them becomes still, when distractions disappear and the truth finally has space to speak. In those moments, the mind begins to wander back to the past. They start remembering the way you spoke, the way you understood them, the way your presence made things feel lighter and more real. Sometimes people walk away from connections not because the bond wasn't real, but because they were confused, afraid, or not ready to face the depth of what they were feeling. At the time, it may have seemed easier for them to create distance instead of leaning into something powerful and unfamiliar. They convinced themselves that leaving was the practical choice, that moving forward without you would simplify everything. But time has a way of revealing truths that the heart once tried to ignore. The longer time passes, the clearer certain realizations become. A connection that once felt ordinary begins to stand out in memory. Moments that once seemed small begin to feel meaningful. And the absence of someone who once held a special place in their life becomes more noticeable with each passing day. This is the energy surrounding today's message. Someone is quietly recognizing the value of what they once had with you. Before we go deeper into this reading and reveal the messages coming through the cards, remember that tarot is a tool for reflection and guidance. This is a collective message, which means it may resonate strongly with some of you while others may simply observe the energy without feeling a direct connection. So as you listen to the message unfolding today, allow your intuition to guide you. Only take what resonates with you. 20定 as we move deeper into this reading, the energy surrounding these cards begins to reveal something very emotional and very honest. This is not the energy of someone who simply walked away and forgot everything. Instead, it shows someone who believed they could move on easily, only to later realize that the connection they left behind carried more meaning than they understood at the time. Sometimes people make decisions during moments of confusion, fear, or emotional pressure, and only later, when time has passed and the noise of the situation fades, do they begin to see the truth clearly. The first card that appeared in this reading is the Five of Cups. This card carries the energy of regret and emotional reflection. It represents someone who is looking back at the past and realizing that something meaningful slipped through their hands. The person connected to you has been slowly coming to terms with the impact of their own choices. At first, they may have convinced themselves that walking away was the right thing to do, that leaving the connection behind would help them move forward without complications. But the heart often sees things differently than the mind. Now they find themselves remembering moments they once overlooked. They remember conversations, the comfort they felt around you, and the way your presence brought a certain emotional balance into their life. These memories don't appear constantly, but when they do, They bring a quiet realization. The Five of Cups shows that this person is beginning to understand that what they lost was not something ordinary. It was a connection that carried sincerity and emotional depth. The second card appearing here is the Eight of Cups. This card speaks directly about the moment someone chose to walk away. The Eight of Cups often appears when someone leaves a situation not because there was no love, but because they felt overwhelmed by the emotional intensity of the connection. Sometimes people step away from something meaningful simply because they don't fully understand their feelings at the time. The person connected to you may have believed that distance would help them gain clarity or peace. They may have thought that leaving the situation behind would allow them to focus on other areas of their life. But what they are realizing now is that emotional bonds cannot simply be erased by walking away. The heart remembers what it once experienced. Even though they moved forward physically, something within them remained connected to the energy you shared. That unfinished emotional thread has continued to pull their thoughts back to the past. They may try to distract themselves with daily life, responsibilities, or new experiences, but there are moments when your memory quietly returns to their mind. The third card appearing here is the Six of Cups, and this card carries a much softer energy. The Six of Cups represents nostalgia and emotional memories. It speaks about someone remembering the past with warmth and sincerity. This person has been reflecting on the time they shared with you and realizing that those moments carried a level of emotional honesty that is difficult to find. When they think about you now, they remember how natural the connection felt. There was comfort, understanding, and a sense that things didn't have to be forced. The Six of Cups often appears when someone begins to see the past through a clearer emotional lens. They are no longer focusing on the complications that once surrounded the situation. Instead, they are remembering the parts of the connection that felt genuine and meaningful. This reflection brings both comfort and sadness. Comfort because the memories themselves are beautiful, and sadness because they now realize that something valuable was lost. Sometimes people only understand the depth of a connection after it becomes a memory. The fourth card appearing in this reading is the Nine of Swords. This card reveals the mental and emotional impact that these realizations are beginning to have on them. The Nine of Swords is often connected to restless thoughts, late-night reflection, and moments when the mind returns again and again to situations that cannot easily be changed. During quiet moments, especially when they are alone with their thoughts, this person begins to question their past decisions. They think about what might have happened if they had chosen differently. They replay certain conversations and moments, wondering if things could have unfolded in another way. The Nine of Swords does not necessarily mean they are in constant distress, but it does show that the realization of what they lost weighs on their mind. Regret often appears in silence. It shows up in the small spaces between daily activities, when the mind finally has time to reflect honestly. Now, the fifth card appearing here is the King of Cups. This card represents emotional maturity and deeper understanding. The King of Cups often appears when someone begins to face their feelings with honesty rather than avoidance. For the person connected to you, this card suggests that they are slowly becoming more aware of their emotional truth. At one point, they may have struggled to understand or express their feelings. They may have pushed emotions aside because they felt uncertain or vulnerable. The King of Cups energy shows growth. It shows someone who is learning to acknowledge what they truly feel instead of hiding from it. They are beginning to recognize that the connection they shared with you carried real emotional depth. The King of Cups represents someone who understands the value of genuine bonds and the importance of emotional sincerity. Even if they have not spoken these realizations aloud, they are becoming more honest with themselves about what the connection meant. The final card appearing in this reading is the Wheel of Fortune. This card carries the energy of destiny, cycles, and unexpected shifts in life. The Wheel of Fortune reminds us that life is always moving, always turning, and that connections sometimes move through different phases before their full meaning becomes clear. The appearance of this card suggests that the story between you and this person did not simply disappear. Instead, It became part of a larger cycle of growth and realization. Sometimes distance creates the space necessary for reflection. When people step away from something meaningful, they often gain perspective they did not have before. Right now, the strongest energy surrounding this connection is silent regret. This person is recognizing the value of what they once had with you. They are beginning to understand that some people leave a lasting impression on the heart, the kind that cannot easily be replaced by anyone else. Their regret is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet and thoughtful. It appears in the memories they revisit and in the awareness that certain connections are rare. Sometimes life teaches its deepest lessons through reflection, and sometimes the silence between two people carries emotions that were never fully expressed when the connection was still alive. As we close this reading, the energy that surrounds this message feels quiet, reflective, and deeply emotional. The cards have shown a story that many people experience at some point in their lives. A story where someone only realizes the true value of a connection after it has already slipped away. Regret does not always arrive immediately. Sometimes it takes time, distance, and reflection for a person to understand what they truly had. The energy here shows that someone connected to you is slowly coming to that realization. They are beginning to understand that the bond they shared with you carried sincerity, depth, and emotional meaning. At the time, they may not have fully recognized it. They may have been confused, distracted, or simply unprepared for the strength of the connection that existed between you. But as life continues to move forward, certain truths become impossible to ignore. This person is reflecting on the past more than they let others see. They are remembering the way you understood them, the way conversations between you carried honesty, and the way your presence brought something genuine into their life. These memories are not fading. Instead, they are becoming clearer as time passes. Sometimes people believe that letting someone go will make everything easier. They think that distance will remove the emotional weight of a connection. But what they are learning now is that some bonds leave a lasting imprint on the heart. Certain people enter our lives and change the way we understand love, connection, and emotional truth. Even if paths separate, the memory of that bond continues to exist. This reading does not suggest that you need to wait, chase, or change anything about your life. Instead, it simply reveals the emotional realization taking place on the other side of this connection. The cards show someone who is slowly becoming more aware of their feelings and the role you played in their life story. Life has a way of teaching powerful lessons through time and reflection. Sometimes people need space before they can fully understand what something meant to them. Sometimes the silence between two people becomes the place where those realizations begin to grow. For you, the most important message in this reading is to continue moving forward with your own sense of peace and self-worth. Your value was never dependent on whether someone recognized it immediately. The right people eventually see the truth of what you bring into their lives. And sometimes, when someone finally understands the depth of what they lost, that realization becomes one of the most powerful lessons they will ever carry. Thank you for sharing your time and energy with this reading today. If this message resonated with you, take a moment to reflect on what your intuition is telling you. And as always, remember to only take what resonates with you and leave the rest.
窗体底端